T2RX6 here, back for another third-party Transformers review. And today, we're going to be taking a look at Butcher. Now, Butcher is the 6th release, apparently, from Headrobots. I don't know exactly how they are counting their releases, to be completely honest. I know they had the Snake, they had, obviously, the Hard Head, they had the Bludgeon upgrade, and that's all I can think of. I know they had a Whirl one which was limited, maybe? So, I don't know, maybe this is the 6th release of this style head, but then I can only count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm not sure how the 6th release, but the package says 6th release. It comes in the same minimal packaging. Interestingly enough, the back is updated to show the Butcher version of the head, but it doesn't tell you where all the accessories should go and stuff in either mode. And that's a bit tough, I guess, to try to figure out. You gotta figure out what you think looks good. What's different about this guy is it is actually an Onslaught head, and you get some knives, and then other than that you get everything else. Now, I originally thought this came with a chrome Megatron looking gun. Here's a picture of that. But the details are redefined details when you're ordering something, because it said the gun was not included, so I was a bit disappointed. But anyway, let's open it up and take a look. Alright, so you open it up here, and let's just look at the card first, because they really have some nice artwork that they do for almost all their releases. Actually, all of them that I can think of. And in this case, it's Onslaught with their new Onslaught head, and he's holding the energy daggers. And that's a pretty awesome looking picture. It'll make a good desktop background. Now, to the accessories, you get, of course, the black gun. 2 of them. And they look like they could use a little extra detailing just because the solid black, for some reason, I don't know, it's hard to pick out the details. Whereas even though the silver and the kind of tannish guns also lack the same details, at least with the coloring you could actually pick them out a little bit easier. Whereas this one, the black just kind of hides a lot of the details, so these ones, more than the previous ones, feel like they could use a little extra color. You get the big shoulder cannon, or as I'm using it on Fortress, the hand cannon. Again, the black looks like some details could be picked out, nothing fancy. You of course get the little backpack piece, which splits in half and contains the Headmaster port for him. One thing I never paid attention to, though, is if these Headmaster ports are different at all on all these different releases. I'm suspecting no, but it'd be interesting to see if they had different stats compared to a G1. You get the 2 energy daggers, which have these clips on them, so I suspect that they clip onto the turrets of the tank. And then you got the hard head, or I'm sorry, the Onslaught head. And I moved the light down here so you could see it a little better. Again, it's a nice looking head, but the black makes its details extraordinarily hard to pick out. Still, looks really cool though. I really like it. So, why did they make this kit? Well, if you couldn't find Hardhead, because we know he's real hard to find sometimes, and you only had an Onslaught but you didn't pick up the TFCon exclusive, or you didn't like how it looks, you're given the option to use the new Butcher head if you still want to participate in the Headrobots project. Now, I don't have much need for this because I don't have another version of Onslaught, but I love Headmasters, so I was gonna bite for it. But if you only have Onslaught and you wanted to get into the Headrobots, I would definitely say go with Butcher because he's pretty cool and relatively cheap priced. Now, here is the size here. You can just see the difference. It's pretty much the same. The Butcher head extends down a little bit lower than the Fortress head. And of course, the same way, just plugs right onto the top here. That gives your Onslaught his standard head. It's just a shame that the black details probably aren't coming out all that well. Alright, so here's just a little bit of a zoomed in view of his face so you can kind of see some of these black details a little bit better. One thing I really like about this release versus the previous releases is that if you are to activate his siren gimmick, well, you can see his whole visor is lighting up. You may not be able to see it well. Let me turn off the lights for just a second. There we go, we're in the natural lighting now. And you can just see how real well that lights up. Now, comparatively, let's put the Fortress head back on real fast. And if we try to light that up, his faceplate lights up, but his eyes don't really do much of anything. So it's real cool. Again, showing that red is the superior light piping, just how it lights up. And what you're seeing on the bottom here of his face, that's actually the light from his eyes actually getting on there. That's not coming through anything like that. So that just shows, I guess I can leave his head on. So that just shows how nice of light piping he has. So I figured instead of fiddling around with it on camera, I would just go ahead and put his weapons on him in a configuration that I thought was good looking. And it's interesting to see that you can get 3 distinct silhouettes, whether you go from, having just a shoulder cannon and the 2 back pieces up. If you put the guns on the back, kind of like a backpack storage, or as I like to do it with the Fortress release, where they're sticking straight up like this. That gives you 3 different looks for how the back of them look, at least. So this is the way I figured out that it seems to look best with Onslaught here, especially if you're going to use his knives. And that's to just use this back piece as kind of like back weapon storage. Of course, on the bottom you still have this piece. I hate this piece. I always get rid of it and just leave it in the box if I'm going to display them. And then that way I can fold that up where it's supposed to. Now, interestingly enough, the pictures show, well, the carded pictures show Onslaught holding his knives down, which, if you know anything about using a knife, you know that that is the proper way to hold a knife, and holding it up in your hand is not the proper way. You can do more things with it if you're trying to defend yourself if it's down. Onslaught's hands, the holes are far too small on the bottom. So try and try and try, but you're never gonna get this big round peg into that hole. It definitely is gonna need to be dremeled out if I decide I want to do anything with that. Otherwise, the combat expert's gonna just have to hold his knife like he has no idea what he's doing, I guess. You can, if you want, switch out the knives and put on the guns. When it comes to the actual knives, they have these clips, and you can just kind of clip it on there if you wanted to store them. You still wanted them to have them, which I suspect is how they're going to end up going in the alt mode. So it just sits flush on the back like that. You can store them. You could, of course, also take his shoulder cannon off and give him the big cannon, and everything does store on the back. Now the knives do have to rotate inward, and you can't plug these in all the way, but everything does store. It's all solid, it's not going to fall off. So you do have your options. So let's take him to his vehicle mode, and we'll go from there. And he is loaded to the teeth, just like the regular release. You can strap, again, like I said, the knives on the side, which, I don't know, doesn't really make any sense why they would be there, to be honest. The guns, of course, go in the back, so he's heavily armored. Now I like to put the big one into the hole that is on the inside of these guns, and that way it gives it a up and down rotation. And so that, and it also keeps it so when all 3 guns are together, it doesn't look as nice in my opinion. So that's the alternate mode. Unfortunately, I don't have another Onslaught just to show you what it would look like without the stickers and the extra coloring, but I think you get the idea. It's pretty straightforward. I did borrow the cow catchers from Hardhead because I have no idea what I've done with mine for Onslaught here. Alright, so for the final thing, let's look at the minifigure here. And I really like this little guy, especially since they used the clear red for his face, which really sets him apart from some of the others. The other two do have the plastics that were used as their face, but really the red looks best. For example, here's Hardhead's, and he's just got that like mustardy yellow. And then here's the Fortress one, and he's just got gray. They all share the same inner body, regular body. It's only the back faceplate of each of them that has changed. If you have the regular Hardhead release, you got this one, and if you've got that BBTS special, this one, and then of course Onslaught. So that's really the only difference between the three, is the face on their back. Everything else is the same, just molded in a different color. For articulation on these little guys, they have a ball jointed arm, so you get a pretty decent range of motion out of the hand. Looks like he can hold any Lego style weapon. I'm pretty sure that's about the size of a Lego. He's got a ball jointed hip here, so whoops, if you can do it without pulling the joint off here. Give him the Captain Morgan's pose. Got a knee, and that's about it. But since you have the four main ball joints, it does give him a little bit of posability over, you know, something like a Generation 1 Headmaster who only has the swivels and can't put his arms out. And if you know anything, you'll never put out these arms. Let me pull this back just a little bit. So here's just a quick size comparison. I have an incredibly hard time getting these guys to stand properly. They're just so back heavy. Usually if I get him to stand, he has to be hunched over just a little. But there you go, and there's a size comparison. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I will see you guys next time.